All right, good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Josh Poet with you. Hope your weekend was good. I hope you made it through whatever challenges that you've had to deal with and that you're here with us today. I have one commitment, and that is I will be here day in, day out, 5 days a week, bringing you news and information, first contact style, as I've been for the last 430 shows now. So we're just jamming right along. I will continue to be here to make sure you are informed. Now today we're going to start things off as always with the dream spell date, the 13 moon calendar. On the 13 moon calendar, our date today is a white solar mirror. White solar mirror. White is the color of refinement. The solar tone is called the solar tone of intention. It's tone number 9. The symbol for today is the mirror. Think about a mirror. You look into it, it reflects back to you. And it reflects endlessness, because if you were to look into it and see behind you and there was a mirror, imagine back and forth, that endlessness of reflection going back and forth with itself. And the guide for today is the wizard. A wizard is all about timelessness. So today we have the intention of endlessness guided by timelessness. Quite an interesting day indeed. The phrase for today, white solar mirror guided by the wizard, is, I pulse in order to reflect, realizing order. I seal the matrix of endlessness with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of timelessness. On the Gregorian calendar, it is Monday, June 20th, 2011. We have the summer solstice going on tomorrow morning. We've almost arrived at the beginning of another phase here on good old planet Earth. Before we get to that, and before we get to anything else, we're going to check in with Dirk, who's got news and information for you today. This is Inside Rand is the name of the story. Dirk, over to you.
Next up on the Cosmic News Network, the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw.
Start each and every weekday morning with Joshua Poet, First Contact Radio. This is a news and radio show unlike anything you've ever heard. Our stories are very provocative, and you'll never hear anything like this in mainstream television or radio. So wake up early, brew yourself a cup of coffee, and at 8 a.m., turn on First Contact Radio. All the stories they don't want you to know. Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. Hey there, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is time for the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw, and tonight we look inside the Rand Corporation. Journalist and author Alex Abela was allowed exclusive access inside the Rand Corporation to view their archives. What he discovered was a plot driven by mad scientists, behaviorists, and generals who were intent on starting World War III and fleecing the American people in the process. Once he was a skeptic on the subject of conspiracy theories and the New World Order, but after his work with the Rand Corporation, he is now convinced that this top secret think tank has been pulling the strings of American government for at least 60 years. Tonight, inside the Rand Corporation.
Hi, I'm Alex Abela. I'm the author of Soldiers of Reason, The Rand Corporation, and the Rise of the American Empire. This was a book that came out in 2008, and it's basically is a history of the Rand Corporation and its influence on American history and basically, I guess, world history. In a way, what I say in the book is that We're all the bastard children of Rand, and we don't even know it. Originally, the Rand Corporation was an offshoot of the Air Force, which wanted to recreate the Manhattan Project. As you recall, the Manhattan Project was when civilians and the military got together to create the atomic bomb. After World War II ended, a general named General Henry Arnold wanted to make sure that that same combination of civilian scientists and military know-how got together so as to be able to create new weapons. They went on then to develop this particular organization, which is to be called eventually RAND, which stands for Research and Development. Now, RAND originally was supposed to be only to go into the theoretical things, sort of like developing plans for intercontinental ballistic missiles, and to develop new weapons of destruction. Ultimately, it expanded into other fields. It expanded into social science, it expanded into history, it expanded above all into economics. And it got to be so big that the Air Force had to spin it off. They had sited it over at Douglas Aircraft, which was one of the biggest aircraft manufacturers in the country at the time. So in 1948, they spun it off. Now, the reason why I'm talking about all this is because from the beginning of RAND as a separate entity apart from the Air Force, that is, as its own corporation, when it becomes the RAND Corporation, it's been intrinsically linked to the Ford Foundation. If we're talking about the robber barons, if we're talking about people like Carnegie, about Ford, Rockefeller, well, yes, I mean, there has been always a link between think tanks and the big, powerful economic interests. Specifically, in the case of RAND, there has been a link between RAND and the Ford Foundation. In fact, the attorney who drafted the Articles of Incorporation for RAND was the same fellow who later became the president, the first president of the Ford Foundation. And they used to go around asking the people at RAND, are there any particular projects that you want us to fund? Without Ford money, the RAND Corporation would have never gotten off the ground. So from the beginning, there has been that, that intricate, that, you might say that really intimate relationship between the two bodies, between the two ways of looking at the world. Because after all, what you have here with the big economic interests is that they want to make sure that their own interests are protected. They want to make sure their goods can be sold throughout the world. And they want to make sure that we have consumers for that. And RAM, in a way, served as a very useful adjunct to that particular way of thinking. The original title for my book was the RAND Corporation and the New World Order. I did that on purpose. And I wanted to have people think about what those words actually meant. Because what RAND actually did during the 1950s is that they came up with this particular way of looking at the world that changed everything, that changed the world we live in, that changed how we think, how we talk, the schools we send our kids to, how we pay our taxes, the planes we fly in. They've changed the whole world. And that's what I'm saying, in a way, that we are the bastard children of RAND. And what do I mean by all that? They began the whole process of giving an ideological foundation to the process of deregulation that would come to a head during the Reagan administration. They developed something called rational choice theory that, after it came up and after it was developed and expanded, it turned us from citizens into consumers. And instead of having rights and responsibilities, we became consumers with choices. In a world where what really counts is what they call the consumer sovereignty, or the sovereignty of the consumer, where what counts is not what we do, or who we believe in, or what God we pray to, but how much money we're going to spend, and what's in it for me. In a way, it changed the whole physiognomy of America, and by extension, the rest of the world. Obviously, my book deals mostly with the RAND Corporation, and the Ford Foundation is sort of like an offshoot of the whole thing. But I do know that at the time that the RAND Corporation was founded, like I said, the first president of the Ford Foundation was one of the founders of the Rand Corporation, and their goals are very similar. Their goals were to have a world in which you have technocrats running everything. One of the founders of Rand, one of the main intellectual luminaries of Rand, was a fellow named John Williams, who was the head of the mathematics department. And he believed in preemptive nuclear attacks in the Soviet Union, and he believed in bringing about a one-world government that would be run by technocrats like himself, by people who would be following what he called the rule of reason, which would be all right if only that reason was controlled by ethics. Unfortunately, neither in the world of Rand nor in the world of that Ford Foundation at the time was there much call for an ethical point of view of what our life is supposed to be all about. Instead, it was going to be a world in which efficiency was all, in which men almost became substitute machines. And if you look at the early history of Rand, matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why they went into the social sciences, because they couldn't figure out how to deal with people. People are messy. People are not rational at bottom. But the people at Rand and the people at the Ford Corporation thought that humans are rational and that what guides our actions is self-interest. Of course, you and I both know that's not the case. We love our children. We love our family. We love our country. Sometimes we are even willing to give our life for a fellow human being, even though we may not know him. Now, all those principles are denied by the doctrines of rational choice theory that came out of Rand. There's no place for that in the worldview of both the Ford Foundation and the Rand Corporation at that time, in the early 50s. Humans are messy. Humans are complicated. Humans are both rational and irrational. I believe at bottom, we're all irrational, and that we use rationality as a tool to achieve ends that in and of themselves are not rational. Rational choice began as a way of countering Marxist doctrine. You may not recall this, but at the end of the Second World War, during the late 40s, early 50s, there was a great deal of pessimism in the Western world. People really thought that capitalism was going to die, basically, that communists were going to win, and that there was no way to stop the dialectical progress of humanity, so to speak, to borrow some of the terminology of the communists, that there was a certain way that history developed, and that all that we could do was, bend our heads and say, okay, Lord, here we go. That was not the case, obviously. But the United States had to come up with a theory that would legitimize the individualist perspective on life that the United States has always had and that Western civilization had. So there was an economist named Kenneth Arrow that was hired by the Rand Corporation to come up with what they called a utility function for the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was a very closed society. We had some spies. We didn't have that much information about it. Basically, Rand, as the think tank for the government, was given the task of trying to decide how would the Soviet leaders act. In other words, what would Joseph Stalin do if, let's say, we were to invade Poland, or if we were to go into the Soviet section of Germany? How would they react? So therefore, they gave him this particular assignment, which was to assign what they call a utility function. How would the leaders of the Soviet Union react given a particular crisis with the Western world? So what Arrow did is that he took it from a perspective of a mathematician, and he assigned certain values to his research. And he came up with this theory called rational choice theory, whereby he postulated that it's self-interest what drives people, that humans are essentially rational, that all humans think with the same kind of rationality, that science is universal, and that we're all in it for ourselves, and that there's no such thing as religion, altruism, patriotism, that self-interest rules all, and that therefore what we should have is something called the sovereignty of the consumer, that we should give people as many choices as they can, because according to his theory, if you have a group of 4 people and there's more than 2 choices, there's never going to be a democratic decision because one of the parties is going to impose his will on the others. Now, I know to us that sounds like nonsense, because obviously we live in a democracy, or what comes as close as we can to being in one, and we do believe in majority rule, but according to these axiomatic principles that Mr. Arrow developed, there is no such thing, that there's always the tyranny of a particular party over another. So therefore, in order to countervail that, and thus to countervail Marx's doctrine, he came up then with the theory of rational choice. Rational choice then became the foundation for all the deregulation that happened during the Ronald Reagan era, and even before, during Carter. Because after all, if people are only in things for themselves, then there's no such thing as a politician acting for the good of the country. So therefore, it's all self-interest. So therefore, we have to do things in such a way that everybody will get the most benefit out of it. Therefore, we have to deregulate things because we have to see what do we get out of this, and it would be unnatural to expect people to actually give things to others, because after all, that's not what human nature is all about. So that became the foundation, for deregulating industries and for basically the mess that we find ourselves in. Rand obviously didn't just develop rational choice. I mean, obviously Rand was created to create new weapons of mass destruction, so to speak. So they were extremely instrumental in the development of intercontinental ballistic missiles. They were also extremely instrumental in the creation of the hydrogen bomb as well. And as the 50s went on, they were involved with NASA. Matter of fact, they were one of the first people to propose an orbiting Earth station, an orbiting satellite station around the Earth. And that was like the first project that they did back in 1946. They were also involved, very heavily involved, in the use of nuclear weapons. Why is that? Well, Rand was the creation of the Air Force. The Air Force at the time was the golden child of the military services in the United States, because they were entrusted with the ultimate weapon, the atomic bomb, and later the hydrogen bomb, because they were transported by airplanes. Intercontinental ballistic missiles had not been developed yet. So therefore, Rand was involved in this brand new form of looking at warfare. One of the first things that Rand tried to do was to come up with a theory of general warfare, a theory of how warfare should be applied, what should be done, and of course, it didn't work, because there's no such thing as a general theory of warfare. There might be something like that in physics, but certainly not in war. So therefore, that went by the wayside. So therefore, what Rand began to do is to do special localized studies. And one of the things that they did was called the basing study, which highlighted how the United States would have been susceptible to a sneak Soviet attack that would have destroyed our country, basically. Would have destroyed not only our planes sighted in Europe with all the nuclear weapons, but they would have been able to come in under the radar, and just like the Japanese did in Pearl Harbor, they would have been able to attack the United States. Because of studies that were done out of Rand, especially by one of his foremost researchers, a guy named Albert Wohlstetter, the United States Air Force changed the way in which its nuclear airplanes were sighted, and in which the bases were done. And therefore, it changed the way in which nuclear bombs and nuclear weaponry were handled. Not only that, they also developed...
Oh, man, I can't believe it's over. Where does the time go? Well, I see the fat lady's off the stage. She's looking right at me. It's time for me to go put her to bed. I hate goodbyes. So instead I'm going to say, until we meet again, I'm Dirk Bradshaw for the Cosmic News. Wake up.
Next up on the Cosmic...
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their government.
wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right there, Dirk. Thank you very much. This is Josh, and this is the UFO News for today. Got a lot of stories here to catch you up on. We're going to start with this first one here from the Examiner.com. Roger Marsh says, two Illinois brothers share a UFO experience after they wasted no time moving towards their two strange objects. The reporting witness was driving along Route 29 in Chillicothe when the radio station was listening to abruptly turn to static, while two very large orange objects appeared in the field of vision hovering above a cemetery at Cloverdale Road, according to June 19, 2011 testimony from the Mutual UFO Witness Reporting Database. The witness immediately pulled to the cemetery and also noticed other witnesses pulling off the road nearby. He picked up his cell phone, alerted his brother to come to the cemetery. I watched them for the next few minutes. They just stayed above the cemetery, not moving, the witness stated. The one was on the right, closer to the one on the left, which was much closer to me, and that's when I saw the top of the larger one being reflected off of light from the larger one being reflected off of it. The witness described the object. It was a tear-shaped. It was tear-shaped. Where it goes? It was tear-shaped or cone-shaped, the base being the largest part and glowing in an extremely bright orange. The very top had these long spikes coming out of it that sort of went out, and instead of pointing up, I estimate they were at least 10 to 20 of them on that side, and I could look at the smaller ones started heading off towards the field behind the cemetery, and the bigger one followed. But while I dialed my brother again, he noticed the objects had dimmed. I called my brother back, told him that they were on the move, and that 40 seconds or so they just sort of dimmed and were gone. They didn't disappear behind anything, and they didn't just turn off. They just dimmed their lights down and were gone. The witnesses got back in his vehicle, began moving the direction of objects. When I reached the high school on Bradley, I noticed a helicopter moving straight in their direction. My brother called me a minute later to tell me he'd seen one of these disappear by the high school, and then saw the same helicopter heading towards Truett, about 6 to 8 blocks away from where they had disappeared. We weren't able to make much sense of it, but definitely believe that the helicopter was following in their direction. Now, Chillicothe is a city along the Illinois River in Peoria County. Population 5,996. There were no images or video with this. We now have a next story here. This is a 2-year-old points out alien spaceship in sky. Again, Roger Marsh over at Examiner.com. New York Times witness may take the 2-year-old nephew more seriously. A New York witness may take the 2-year-old nephew more seriously in the future after he points out in the southern sky and said alien spaceship. The witness and the mother looked up into the sky and saw a flash of light over the trees in front of us, according to the June 19, 2011 testimony from the Mutual UFO Witness Reporting Database. Then a flash of light in the south, then a few blinks, and it was north, and then the blink to the east, and it was gone, the witness stated. All of this without a sound. The witness believed what they saw was a UFO. The tiny ball of light zigzagged across the sky in the directional pattern I described above. The whole event lasted approximately 10 seconds. No images or video were included with this report, which was filed on June 19th. New York is currently a UFO 4 rating. 13 reports in May. California had 55. Now we have a story here. Let me bring this in so you can see this one a little bit better. This is a UFO photograph near volcano Puyahea. The Puyahea volcano in Chile is an active one. During July 5, 2011, the volcano began to send massive plumes of smoke up into the atmosphere as thunderous lava spat out. During the awesome display, someone managed to capture what they believed to be a UFO near the erupting volcano. The website, eltempo.com, has the photo, and a link to the YouTube video shows the location and close-up photo of the strange object, seen by many hovering as the thick plume grows. And here you can see, right down in here, we got the UFO. Although the photograph is interesting to say the least, like many UFO photos, this one is just too inconclusive. According to El Tiempo, many locals said this did see the strange light objects around the volcano as it began to erupt. Chile has had a lot of UFO sightings in the past years, so no doubt that this image is something strange. Could it be something from out of this planet? Good question. Here we go. I'm going to play this. It's not too long. Alright, let's just kind of... Alright, here's the volcano erupting. Let's see if we can see where these are. Alright, we just got this right down here. It's the same one that's in the picture. What do you think that is? Alright. It is most interesting indeed, and it does have a... well, I wouldn't say it was a helicopter. Alright. As you can see by the look of it, it doesn't look like a... It doesn't really look like a helicopter, so I'm going to put that video up at our YouTube page so you can check it out. Now, here's a story for you. I got some great UFO sightings, and these took place in China. It says from 2011. I don't speak Chinese, so I don't know what they're saying in here, but you'll be able to watch the videos, and those of you who do understand, well, you'll understand what they're saying. So listen to this. See what you think. Wrong way. Alright. Alright, looks like I'm going to have to come back to that one here. This is WikiLeaks set to reveal U.S. UFO war in Southern Ocean.
Online newspaper on Monday, December 13th, 2010. A new report circulating in the Kremlin today, prepared for President Medvedev by Russian Space Force's VKS 45th Division of Space Control, says that an upcoming WikiLeaks release of secret U.S. cables details that the Americans have been engaged since 2004 a war against UFOs based on or near the continent of Antarctica, particularly the Southern Ocean. According to this report, the United States went to its highest alert level on June 10, 2004 after a massive fleet of UFOs suddenly emerged from the Southern Ocean and approached Guadalajara, Mexico, barely 1,600 kilometers 1,000 miles from the American border. Prior to reaching the U.S. border, however, this massive UFO fleet is said in this report to have dimensionally returned to their Southern Ocean home base. The fears of the Americans regarding these Southern Ocean UFOs began, this report says, during the unprecedented events of July 11, 1991, referred to as 7/11/1 during the solar eclipse. These mysterious aircraft appeared by the hundreds over nearly all of Mexico, even...
Alright, the video is going to be up so you can watch the whole thing. I want to try to get back to this one here. Might have to let that play itself out. Did you see, let me take a moment here, did you see Falling Skies last night? I watched a little bit of it, and didn't really impress me. Here we go.
中其实也有看到这样类似的文字记载，就有人陆陆续续目击到不明飞行物这样子的历史记载，在国内各地也不时传出有人拍到空中有奇怪的物体。虽然是不是UFO，大家都没有办法找到一个明确的答案。不过，现在有飞碟专家认为说，美国很多科技根本就是来自外星人。
目睹不明飞行物在古文献中就有记载。大文豪苏轼的《游金山古寺》写下过“江心似有炬火明，飞燕照山栖鸟惊”的对句，连国父都和外星人有过第三类接触。台南3级古迹总赶宫就有这样的一幅壁画，传说国父游南海普陀山时，看见空中有一大圆轮盘旋急速，而且还有没有头发、相貌奇异的怪人前来迎接。随着现代影像科技发达， 一看见空中有不明飞行物体，民众都会赶紧的拍下来。
讲这是伊是遥控直升机、遥控飞机，但是都看到迄阵已经刷过往前顶的方向刷过啊。
这是去年8月份在高雄鼓山，有人目睹空中出现2道蓝光闪烁飞行，而在金门空中也曾经有人看到过白色的光束。
幽浮要下来的时候，外星人要下来的时候，那产生的光束啊。 我们大家也都很害怕啊，然后再数，居然有十几条。
就连周星驰都说，他会拍《长江7号》是因为亲眼看到过幽浮。
这只有2次看到，因为我找不出其他什么原因，可以就是这样子飞来飞去的。
科学家总是解释这些不明光束是气球或者是大气的光反射，但是飞碟专家认为，一再的目睹事证，让外星人存在已经无需否认。
美国的很多科技来自外星生命，像一些飞碟、一些无人的飞行物啦，它很多的科技是来自外星。
随着 X 档案即将被掀开，人类要面对的是一个新的功课。
All right, there you go. That was some interesting footage there. You can go to our YouTube channel. You can check it out. But that seemed to be making it on a mainstream news station out there. Unlike here in America, where they avoid any kind of stories of that nature, real news that is, other countries do cover it. That is our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump to another song. And when I get back, we are going to get in some more news. This is We Never Went to the Moon. It's the name of the song. Did we really go? What do you think?
What if our government was responsible for some...
If all of this is true, and the evidence strongly suggests that it is, then our government, for some reason, has taken the stance that the general public must not be told the truth.
There we go, ready?
Did we really go to the moon? Did we really land on the moon? And why weren't there any stars? Did we really go to the moon? Did we really land on the moon? And why weren't there any stars? Why weren't there any stars? July 20, 1969, 3 astronauts embark on a historic mission to the moon. On Earth, millions of people gather together and watch it live on TV. Did we really go to the moon? Did we really land on the moon? And why weren't there any stars? Some say the whole thing was a fake, that we didn't have the technology yet to accomplish this feat. And in haste to win the Cold War, created one of the greatest hoaxes of all time. Did we really go to the moon? Did we really on the moon? And why weren't there any stars? Despite the fact that there is no atmosphere on the moon, we all watched the American flag flapping strongly in the wind. And we saw astronauts walking upon a surface that they described as much like the high desert of the United States. Did we really go to the moon? Did we really land on the moon? And why weren't there any stars? Too many questions and not enough answers. Did the Eagle really land? $40 billion to tell a story. Are there really footprints in the moon's sand? What do you think? Did we really go to the moon? Did we really land on the moon? And why weren't there any stars? Why weren't there any stars? In the sky, there should be some stars. There weren't any stars. Why weren't there any stars? Did we really go to the moon? Did we really land on the moon? Why weren't there any stars? Why weren't there any stars? Why weren't there any stars? Did we really go to the moon?
Welcome back to the show. Alright, I started to say before the song, I started to watch Falling Skies the other night. I don't know if you watched it. I was surprised to see Steven Spielberg's name attached to it because I didn't see a quality in that show that you usually see from a Steven Spielberg program. And I turned it off after the first 15-20 minutes. Just had enough once I saw the aliens and what they had done with the story. It's just ludicrous the way that this country wants to paint out what's going on with the UFO phenomena. They want to make you afraid. They want to make you afraid. Now, just think about this. When you hear the stories about what's going on with the UFO phenomena and you hear stories of attacks, you never hear stories of them attacking people, attacking cities. You only hear stories of attacks and fights going on between the military and UFOs. Between the UFOs and the military. It's always that combination. Perhaps, because in the past, as we have seen, the military shoots first before deciding what's going on. So maybe they're only retaliating back. That's a good possibility because they're not initiating any sorts of attacks. With the type of technology that they have, being able to come down into our solar system, down to the planet, they could easily use their technology to turn it on humankind and change and kill everybody. No problem. They could come down here, land, and nobody would be able to stop them if they did. But the military has a way of wanting you to believe that they're bad. They want you to believe that there's an alien invasion imminent and that we are all in danger. We're not in danger. You see, in the Bible, in the other stories, the religious texts that are out there, when they talk about these ships that came down and they're coming down, there's a lot of good that's represented from these ships. A lot of good. There's a lot of... Jesus is one of those on the ships with the archangels. He talks about coming back in the clouds. Either he's going to be floating in the clouds literally, or he's going to be in some sort of craft or ship that is up in the clouds. Well, as far as I recall on this planet from reading the Bible and the stories, Jesus is one of the good guys. Therefore, why would you want to shoot at that ship? Unless, of course, the ones shooting are the bad guys. That's a good possibility, don't you think? Because down here on Earth, we really have a strange disconnect between what's good and what's bad. We're not told the truth. We're lied to so often down here that it's becoming commonplace to accept lies. I talk to people all the time, and I ask them, about stories that are going on, and people seem to accept the fact that they're lied to, and it's okay. And then they go back to their video games, and then they go back to their handhelds, and then they go back to doing whatever it is that they were doing that prior to when they heard the story, because it doesn't faze them. There's a strange disconnect in life right now, and it's unfortunate that the only thing that shakes earthlings out of their disconnect is when something bad happens, when some sort of disaster shakes their world. That's the only thing that seems to want to stop you earthlings. And I don't understand why, because right in front of your very faces is all the information you need. You should be stopping what you're doing, and you should be paying attention to really what's going on in life right now. I know there's a lot who aren't. More and more are starting to and are making that move towards listening, but there's still a lot that aren't really paying attention. You're listening to the mainstream news, and you're not getting news. Which brings me to the next story here. Let me go along here. This is some of the stuff that was on the news recently. This is a story the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, on Sunday I believe it was, that NBC apologizes for omitting "Under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, I went through and I was reading through the comments and all of this, and there's a lot of different comments from people saying that the God was never originally mentioned in the Pledge of Allegiance. To what does it matter? It does matter. And for NBC to have left this out, well, do you really think that's an accident? I've done a lot of video editing, as I'm sure a lot of you have. Do you really find that it's an accident when you leave something out of an editing process? Do you really believe that NBC, as big as they are, as much money as they have available them to hire good editors and write good scripts, do you think that it was an accident that when they were going along they actually left the words of "Under God" out? No, that's no accident. They did that intentionally. There's the only explanation. Because someone of this caliber, NBC, would not be doing something just forgetting it. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't be on the air anymore, because they'd be forgetting things every day. This was intentional. It's just a small little piece in a big puzzle to show you how the mainstream media and how life right now on this planet is pulling God out of all situations. This is not a time to pull God out of situations. This is a time to put God into situations. Now, is there a connection here between this? I don't know. We've been seeing, we're not hearing them talk about God, and we see Obama playing a lot of golf. Now, here we have a connection of a golf match where this happened. Is there a connection there? I don't know. I don't think golf players are bad people. I think Obama's a jackass, and I think that, he's a disgrace to this country and is just really making it look bad for a lot of people. But I don't think there's any reason that, that you need to start removing things, and then people get so caught up in the stories and the lies that the mainstream tells us, oh, they apologize, no big deal. Think about it, folks. It's a small piece of a big, big puzzle. Now, in the Midwest, they're having record floods. The Army Corps of Engineers gotten to the point where all they know how to do now is just start blowing stuff up. They're just going to start blowing up levees, apparently, because they don't know how to contain the water anymore. Guess what? They've been blowing up levees from the beginning, and it's just creating more and more floods. So is that a coincidence, or is this something planned? Has it been planned that these events are taking place? It says U.S. plants on flood alert. Record water levels in Missouri River have put 2 nuclear power plants in Nebraska on flood alert. Additional flood prevention measures have been taken at Fort Calhoun and Cooper plants. Water levels at the Missouri levels have risen over the past few weeks due to a combination of heavy rain and melting snow, and more also released from upriver dams to prevent overflowing. They forgot to mention the HAARP-related weather that they've been having, because if you're watching the weather patterns, if you're seeing what's being pointed out online by researchers like Dutch Sins, you will see that there's strange patterns going on. Strange circles showing up in radar. Squares, triangles, all different kind of shapes are showing up. Strange little arrows are coming out of nowhere. And then, strangely enough, as he points out, 24 to 48 hours later, they have severe weather. It's not a coincidence. There's something very strange at work here. But they're ignoring this. 2 plants. They're ignoring this. There was a viewer, I'm going to have to go and dig up the video I put on one of my playlists. He actually got really close to the plant up there in Nebraska, the Fort Calhoun plant, went as close as he could get. It's all surrounded by water, got water beds protecting it. But it's in a bad situation. And then if you happen to pay attention to the weather, well, they got hit by some severe weather last night, and more and more rain, more and more water, more and more flooding is just going to occur. It's not a good situation. Now what you've got going on here is, let me pull this one up for you. Here we have notification of unusual events at the Cooper nuclear plant. Okay, I'm going to play this for you because I want you to hear this.
This was released at 7:34 a.m. June 19, 2011. Declaration at Cooper Nuclear Power Plant. It's by the flood. It's a notification of unusual events at the Cooper Nuclear Power Plant. From what I see here, the NPPD says there is no threat to the plant employees or general public. Okay. NPPD says its plans dictate that when the Missouri River's water level reaches 42.5 feet or greater than 899 feet above sea level, the notification of unusual events is declared. If the river's level increases to 900 feet above sea level, plant personnel will barricade internal doorways as another layer of protection for facility equipment. At 902 feet, the plant will be taken offline as a protective safety measure. A notification of unusual events is the lowest and least serious of the 4 emergency classifications established by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for the nuclear power plants. The Cooper Nuclear Station is 3 miles southeast of Brownsville, Nebraska, along the Missouri River. More news on the Fort Calhoun OPPD nuclear power plant in Omaha, Nebraska.
Alright, the video is up online. I'm going to have it available on our playlist. This is the same guy who went in and got really close to Fort Calhoun and was filming, and at the end of all of that he ended up apparently getting a ticket for trespassing for getting on there to film. He was very brave to go out and do that, and I'm going to put the video up so you can check it out. Here's a strange story here. SWAT team honored for raiding the wrong house in Minneapolis. I'm just going to play the beginning part, and that's
A
enough.
SWAT team that raided a home to catch a suspected gunman just won medals for its bravery.
Ma'am? Now the problem is they barged into the wrong house. The confusion led to the shootout you just heard with a homeowner trying to protect his wife and 6 kids.
All right, so they got an award for going in and getting the wrong people. Way to go, police. Way to go. Thanks for protecting and serving. We're glad to know that you're out there looking out for folks down here on this planet. We're not going to have time to get to much of this here, but I want to turn your attention. I'm going to have this on our playlist from Packy over at poweroftheweb.net. He's got a lot of great stories here. Let me get the first couple moments of what he's got to say, and you can check out the rest a little bit later.
Hey guys, Packy here. It's 8:29 p.m. Sunday, June 19th, 2011, and I'm bringing you to the articles of the day. And this is out of Zero Hedge, and it is saying trading of over-the-counter gold and silver to be illegal beginning July 15th. Really? Well, I wonder how that is gonna become illegal, and why, guys. You guys need to think about the why. Anyways, I'm gonna read the first paragraph here. We wanted to make you aware of some upcoming changes to Forex.com's product offerings. As a result of the Dodd-Frank Act enacted by U.S. Congress, a new regulation prohibiting U.S. residents from trading over-the-counter precious metals, including gold and silver, will go into effect on Friday, July 15, 2011, guys. Now, please comment. Tell me what you think about this. This blows my mind. This is crazy. We are moving into Nazi Germany, but that's not the problem, guys. This is what they want us focusing in on. There's a big, big problem that I'm finding out, which will be my next vid, I hope. I have to get all the research together, but anyways, I'm going to move on. Now, the next article has to do with Ron Paul, Federal Reserve's addictions. Okay? There's a video here. You guys can watch it. As always, I do provide links. And it says here, the Federal Reserve is like a drug addict, according to presidential candidate Congressman Ron Paul, notorious for his hatred of the Fed and love of gold. In a recent interview with The Street, Dr. Paul likened the Fed to a drug addict unable to stop printing money as no one wanted to go through the pain of withdrawal.
Alright, we're going to stop right there because you're going to be able to watch this on your own, but he's got other stories in there, you know, about Athens, the protests, Madrid, tens of thousands of protests against cuts from Madrid, Arizona fires, 7 face extreme risk. More stuff about the Missouri hailstorms, damaged wheat fields. So this video will be up there with all the link on our playlist for today. Check it out. Do some Googling. Check out what's going on with the Missouri River. It continues to flow. Evacuations are occurring from it. What else we got here? Get you a couple more before we jump out of here. There was lots of tornadoes. Here we got more than 15 tornadoes in the live radar. This was over the course of the weekend yesterday. I'm going to put this link up so you can see what was going on. Metal Says, that's the name of his YouTube page. Again, the National Weather Service talking that there was there's been already record-breaking tornado season, and 2 more twisters were added to the list this weekend. The National Service confirmed 2 tornadoes touched down in Kentucky. Okay, that's 2 that the mainstream reported. How many didn't get reported? Because according to this video right here, which was the Weather Service, there's 15 tornadoes on the live radar just here. So they reported 2, but there was 15 in the radar. How many weren't reported? The mainstream is not giving you the news. If you think that they are, do yourself a favor. Make a comparison. Watch the mainstream and then turn on the alternative news. Turn on the internet. Read the news there. Turn on rt.com. If you're on the internet, you can find it on cable. It's there. You can find out Al Jazeera news. It's there. Watch those news stories and then watch what the mainstream says, and you will realize that our mainstream is really the lame stream. Okay? They are really a media that does not want to report any facts to you, and they have no place calling themselves journalists or reporters, because all they are those who can read teleprompters and parrot back to you what they've been told to say. Don't listen to that. You're smarter than that. I know that you are. We need to all stand up. We need to step up and rise above this. We shouldn't be tolerating this anymore. Events are taking place in this country that are significant. There are 2 reactors in the middle of America which are being threatened, and they are not being talked about at all by the mainstream media. If you live in those areas, I would be pretty angry and upset, because you are the ones who are going to receive the first threat if anything significant goes on at those plants. They should be talking about it. They shouldn't be putting a blank out on it, and you shouldn't have an administration run by President Jackass which is calling a blackout in all the news media while he's out playing golf. That's not right. That man should not be president. He doesn't deserve to be president of a high school class. So get with the program, folks. Pay attention to the news that's out there and quit watching the news that only lies to you, because that's all it's going to be, a lie. One lie after another, and just when you forget about the lie, they'll tell it to you again to reinforce it. Don't repeat their lies. Do yourself a favor. I promise you, if you tune in elsewhere, you're going to get some real news that's going to really make a difference in your life. Now, let me jump ahead here to our final closing moment of Zen. I don't know, am I taking that from somewhere? Moment of Zen? Is that what Jon Stewart does? It's our little moment to gather ourselves together. A moment of positivity. How about that? All right, close your eyes for a minute. Close your eyes. Just want you to think about this week. I want you to think about all the challenges that are ahead of this week. Think about what it is that you are wanting to accomplish in your life this week. Think about the people you want to meet, people you want to talk to. Think about whatever it is you want to attract into your life. Know, first of all, that it is a possibility, and know that all you have to do is believe, first and foremost. Now, hold a place in your heart where you think about all of these things. Imagine love, send love to all those ideas and things that you want to create. And then just allow that love to expand outward from you to your city, to your state, to your country, and then around to the whole world, to beings around this planet, wherever they may be. And just as you're imagining that blanket of love going around the planet, bring yourself to the present moment. We'll just hold there on that love and allow that love to saturate the planet. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, wake yourself all the way up. Focus on what you got to do today. Relax and get ready to go. We're a new week, new opportunity to go out there and make a difference in the world. So go out and make a difference, my friend. For Dirk Bradshaw, my name's Josh Poet. I'll be back tomorrow. Till then, peace. I'm out of here.